Well, hi, everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and today we are going to be talking about the fences that we have in our lives, the ones that we put up and the ones other people put up, and both the good side and also is there a negative side to putting up fences in our lives? So hopefully that'll be of interest to some of you. We're going to be looking mostly at why we need to have them and, and where to make sure we've got a gate, if you like, in our fences. Hi, Jamie. How are you doing, honey? Good to see you. All right. So before we do that, though, I just wanted to quickly get in touch with what we've got coming up. I apologize because this is difficult to do before I'm actually live. You get my drift? Jamie, how are things in California? Just bear with me. Good. All right. I'm pleased to hear that. Hi, Jody. Good to see you. Yeah, it's we don't get to see you very often, so it's always a delight for me to see you. Are you still in the same job, Jamie? You've been there for a long time. The reason I say that is I remember you being in that job when I think the first time I ever went to VidCon. It was like that's a long time ago. Good to see you too, Jody. Jody, I don't know if you saw, but I asked you a question on Facebook. Hi, Linda. And I'm not sure if you gave me an answer or not. So just before we start, I just wanted to let you know that we've got a couple of birthdays coming up. And they are, Anna Marie's birthday is on next Saturday. And can you believe it's June already? Yikes. Yeah, that's the one that's coming up for this week that I know of. So if you know of any others for this week that I that I've missed, let me know. And I couldn't believe that there was one. Manon, can you believe I didn't have Manon's birthday? That's like ridiculous. So I will not miss it again, hopefully. It's just like, of all people, how could I not have Manon's birthday in my system? I don't know. So while I've got you guys here, any achievement of the week? Anybody done anything? Linda, and is Nicholas there? So I say hello to Nicholas as well if he happens to be within earshot. I really wanted to talk a little bit about fences today. So Jody, I wonder whether you could just check that question out for me because I don't want to do the wrong thing. You know me. So I wanted to let you know that I actually did a major bit of downsizing this week. And I don't know if any of you can understand this, that doing downsizing actually has an impact on my psyche. That's okay, Linda. That's good to hear. Well, give him a hug from me. So what I find happen is every time I take a major step in downsizing, it has quite a negative effect on me. Can any of you understand why? And I wanted to just talk about this because I think it's true of anybody that is in the same sort of process, whether it's letting go of a relationship, letting go of, a part of your health, whether it's letting go of anything, that whether we like it or not, it has impact. And I don't know if any of you have noticed that. So what I did was, because I did a major bit of downsizing, I could feel what happened to me. All right. It was like I was going into the cycle of loss again. So you all know that that cycle of loss is, first of all, denial. No, no, I'm fine. And then I went, no, no, you're not. um, and that honesty really takes a bit of courage, as some of you know. And so then I went, okay, fine. I don't know how you guys deal with that. What do you do when you realize that you've just put yourself into a loss situation? What do you do to compensate for it? Yeah, exactly, Jody. That's exactly what it was. Thank you. Um, Sorry, Jody's just. Yeah. So, just sorry, everybody. I just want to make sure I've got a comment on that. Right. Um, wow. So that's interesting. So you've got the opposite. So what happened? Because he had this really good job, right? Paul had this really neat job somewhere. I'm sorry to hear that he's back, because that probably means that he doesn't have the job anymore. Or has he just moved back home because he realizes that it's easier? All right. So while he's finding out that real life is very expensive. Now, I want to tell you something. I think that also is part of my reality as well, and I realize it's having major effect. When you understand that, maybe the money you thought you had saved up for your retirement might not be enough. That's pretty scary stuff, right? So the same thing, as I'm sure Paul thought, he was going to be able to do what he wanted to do very easily. Reality hits home, and reality sometimes is very painful. So, but the question that I have, Linda, is he going to be paying you rent? Hi, Sakura. Good to see you. And the reason I say that is because, the reason he has moved back home is because it's too expensive. And while staying at home is a lot cheaper, it should not be free by any matter of means. Good. I'm pleased to hear that, Linda. Very proud of you. All right. So what I realized was that in downsizing, I had put myself on a downward slope. So I knew the chances were I was probably going to get sick. If some of you relate to that, that's what happens to me when I get overtired or overstressed. And so I I knew that was coming. So yesterday I had a don't bother to get up day. I tried to get up and I realized that my body was telling me, no, you need to stay exactly where you are. So I did. But what I thought I'd show you was that on Wednesday, I had missed out on Tuesday, my craft day or art day, because I had been busy downsizing. I really wanted to take this big step. And by the way, for those of you who were here last week, I gave you a commitment that by this week, hang on a second, that all those boxes that were there would be gone. And there they are, all gone. And by the way, everything behind me except one monitor has gone. So, hi, Nada. That's pretty, that's took a lot of work for me, but I paid the price emotionally. So the interesting thing is that I knew I was in trouble because I started to eat emotionally. How many of you relate to that one? Suddenly I needed a lot more sugar than I wanted. And and all the usual things came into play. But I kept saying to myself, but you're not smoking. And I think that's what I have to keep reminding myself. Yeah, I know it's a big job. Wow. Hi, Joanne. Good to see you. Is that Jojo? Like the Jojo? No. Yeah. And that's why I wanted to talk a little bit about stuff. But I wanted to tell you what I did on Wednesday to try and help myself, dig my way out of the hole, if you like, or climb my way out of the hole a bit. Um, and I've been wanting to learn how to make these forever. And Jody tells me they're called necklace busts, but isn't that the cutest little thing? So now it's so funny because I cannot tell you the joy I had in making these. Here's another one. Isn't it cool? So, but I realized that, like all of you, learning something new, you have to be prepared to fail. Hi, Chip. Chip, I was just saying that I was so proud of myself. I actually took a step forward in my creativity this week and learned how to make these little necklace busts. Yeah, wicked nice, huh? So to me, it's just like, huh. Now, I had actually downloaded the template for this some time ago, but never ever tried it. And I thought, and the reason I didn't try it was because I know it's going to take time. Everything to do with my cutting machine takes 10 times more time than you think it's going to. So I just wanted to let you know that this was a major commitment to me, that I actually stopped my life for a moment and said, okay, today you're going to try and cut out one of these busts. And by the way, the first one, wherever it is, the first one was a little bit raggedy. So that didn't work very well. But the truth is, hang on a second, let me just show you this, that it still works really well if I'm not a perfectionist. But you can see that it's a bit raggedy at the edges. So how many of you understand that, that didn't please me? But then I also did something else. While I was sort of in that mood, and I find I have to do things while I'm in the mood, I also made little cards that I can put them on. Now I'm going to just find a way of securing these at the back. First one's always the tester, right? Yeah, so this I thought was quite cute as well, but I'm working on this one. This is my new thing. So now, Jody, I wanted to give you a present. And the present I wanted to give you, you probably already know, but excuse me, in case you don't, it's about your coffee. Oh, twist ties would be a good idea. Yes, very good idea. It's about your coffee. Do you make your own macchiatos at home? Jody. That's what I wanted to check. Because I know they're a great treat to you. So anybody else like caramel macchiato coffee? And the thing that stops most people is I don't have a foam machine, all right? And so for those of you who don't, this is what I'd like to recommend. Not too often, right? I do. I like mine all the time. So I've got a little bit of skim milk powder here and some water. And all you really need to do, it's okay, Nada. You'll get the ones you need to. Anyway, all you really need to do, Jody, is just shake it up a lot. And so you need a jar that is bigger than, only half fill it, because you need lots of room for the foam to grow. And then good exercise. Just shake it up a lot. Okay. And then once it's all, take the lid off it, obviously, and then just put it in your microwave for about 30 seconds. But make sure you've got lots of room. Hi, Erin. Yes, well, that's what I thought. So just make sure. I probably would put it in a much wider container than this. Yeah, shake it. And it's good for the boobs. Yeah. It's like, okay, you can do this. But it's great for a do-it-yourself macchiato. I do it. I use it a lot if I don't take my steamer with me in the trailer, because I've got a microwave in the trailer. So when you put it in the microwave, it's going to grow exponentially. It's going to grow a lot, but you will end up with hot milk and also foam, which is what I thought you might want to know. Hi, Kerry. Good to see you. Kerry, I was just saying I did my creative thing this week and made little necklace busts, Jody tells me they're called, for my pendants. I was really quite pleased with those. And as you can probably see, if I had done it, I could stick a couple of earrings on the side here that match, but I haven't done that. But so that was good. How many of you can't wear pendants because of allergies? Because what I was doing was I was actually spraying the back of them, and I wondered whether it is something that's a good idea. Yeah. So, because I was thinking it only becomes an issue if it touches you, right? Turned it into a keychain. Huh. Yeah, that's a clever idea. That is actually, that would make a great keychain fob, right? Yeah, that's a really clever idea. Linda, I want to tell you something. There are a lot of people that would think that would be really smart. I'm really sorry. If you're going to buy me anything, buy me gold. How many of you are going, yeah, nice one. Sorry, I can't do the rolled gold or the rolled silver. Yeah. A phone accessory. Oh, interesting, the things you guys think of. But I really like the idea of it being, so you'd need a, how did you attach it to your keychain? Oh, with a ring. Yeah, that would be a good idea. Yeah, you'd certainly know they were your keys, wouldn't they? Wouldn't they? Sounds really weird. All right, so now then. So I just wanted to make sure your phone has a casing and I can put it on with a ring or a string. Okay, so you can actually, that is clever. Or what's it called? A carbonara? No, carbonara is the food. What do you call that clip? Carbona? No. Am I going to have to go and get one? One of those clips that they use when they're climbing mountains and things. Somebody help me here. It begins with a C. I know that. Okay, carabiner. Carabiner? Yeah, that one of those things. Right, so that's quite clever. Yeah, but I think you could, as you say, you could just put it on a regular ring and then have it as a keychain. You know what else it would be really nice? If you did a lot of entertaining, you could have one on each glass. What a great thing to do if you're entertaining, and then they could take it home with them. If I did a lot of entertaining. Anyway, so now the good news is I managed to find one place that actually you can buy a mobile home and own the ground. But it means I got to spend about 60,000 more than I wanted to. But is it worth it? Yes, because you would own the land. So then at least if they sold the land, you would get hopefully your share of it. Because as in all things, as you probably know, the value is in the land, not in the piece of, the thing that's on top of it. However, it is in an area that I would normally not consider. So my question to you is, do you understand that I may now consider it, even though it's not in an area I would normally have picked, because it would meet my need to have the ground underneath me owned by me, not by somebody else. And therefore, it would be a safer bet for me. Yeah. Okay. Excuse me. Now, the other thing I had a good look at, and I'll tell you how far my mind has been traveling. I've actually been looking at fifth wheels with a room. Do you know they make some fifth wheels where they've got a bonus room in it? Did you know that? Like a study or whatever. And I'm going to go and have a look at, I'm going to see if I can find somebody that's got one in stock locally so that I can go and see what the layout is. Now, some of them have like toy haulers that you could make a real mess in and not have it be a problem. Because what I need is my art studio. But it would cost me a fraction of what it would cost. And then the rest of it is all pad rent. So would I go stir crazy in that amount of space? There is the question. And I think I probably would. But I know somebody, for example, who's just downsized from 4,000 square feet to less than 1,000. So that's a quarter of the space that they're in. So I would just need to work out what to do with my stuff. Do I get rid of everything? Well, actually, I could keep them in boxes to a large extent as well and just cover the boxes up with some pretty material. So, but I saw something interesting this week. I'm part of a craft group, that does pour art, not poor art, Poor, but Pour. And here was an interesting concept that I thought you might all think about. One woman posted up on the site her new craft corner. And what she said was, I decided to get rid of my formal dining room that I never use and turn it into somewhere that I can use every day. Now, how many of you relate to that one? How many of you have a formal dining room? And if you do, how often have you used it in the last year? That's my question. So what I'm thinking about is this, and I want you to think about it very carefully. I keep saying I need at least 2 bedrooms because I need an art studio. And the reason I need an art studio is because the sort of painting I do is really messy, as some of you know. I mean, there's paint everywhere. And so I need a room that I can walk out of and close the door. Does that make sense? But my question is, I wonder how small a space I could live in if I had that availability. And I actually, as I said, I found some fifth wheels actually have like a study room, which would be possible, or they have a sort of bunk room. Do you know what I mean by a bunk room at the back? And I'm thinking, I could turn that into a studio because, I'm smart. And, with enough storage boxes and whatever, it's a doable. Now, the problem would be every time you want to move the trailer, you got to put everything back in boxes. Beth, I'm so glad you're here. Beth, congratulations on the new job. Hey, everybody, she went for an interview and got it. Boom, just like that. Now, Beth, I wanted to just have one word of advice to you on this one, if I may. Because what I heard Beth say is, have I thought about renting a space? You know something? I have thought about it, but I want out away from the debt. Does that make sense to everybody? I've got a big house. I've got lots of expenses in the upkeep. Okay, so Beth, one thing I wanted to tell you. I know that you're a fixer. All right. Everything that I know about you is you're a fixer and that you can't wait to go in there and fix it. Can I make a really big suggestion? And the reason I say this is I had a friend who constantly lost jobs because he thought he knew it all and he knew it better than anybody else. So that's what I want to warn you against, right? So I think just make sure that whatever you're up to, that it's what they want, and that you're not trying to tell them how to run their business. Does that make sense? Because this friend of mine was forever saying, well, if you did this, it would be a lot better. Rather go from seek first to understand, saying, I've got a couple of ideas here, but I don't want to I don't want to sort of step on everybody's toes. So I've just watched a crow come in and take a plant out of my planter box. No wonder they're missing. If I hadn't seen that happen, I wouldn't know that it's doing it. I wondered why my plants had died. Yeah, so Beth, do you understand? The other thing is, let me ask everybody in the room, how many of you like a new person coming in and going, okay, everybody, I'm going to fix all this for you? What psychologically does that do to you? Beth, I don't know why. I don't know why I feel I need to talk about this because I think a lot of us make this mistake. Nobody likes a know-it-all, right? Okay, Beth. So got it? So I don't know if you're coming in as a manager or whether you're coming in as a regular person, but one of the first things I used to do when I took over, I quite often was asked to sort out a team that wasn't working properly. And I used to go in there, Beth, with a totally different mentality. I'd go in there and go, okay, what do you guys think needs to be done? And they'd all look at me and go, what? You have to tell us what we have to do. I said, no. I want to know what you know needs to be done. You've done the job. You've done the job. You know what needs to be done. Don't let me listen rather than tell. And then what I do is I'd listen and I'd say to them, why haven't you done that yet? Well, we weren't given permission. Will I give you permission to do it? What? How can I help? What? How can I help you do that? What? And I go, what resources do you need to make that possible? And they'd go, well, we'd need folders with this and that and the other. And I say, okay. And then what I'd do is I'd go away and I'd go create these folders or whatever they needed and walk straight back at them and go, there you go. That's what you said you needed. Go do it. And they'd go, just like that? And I go, yeah, just like that. Now, do you understand that because of that, Beth, everybody bought in? I wasn't the negative person. I wasn't the know-it-all. I was the let me help you person. But I do know with a lot of those stores, Beth, that they have a set thing, where it has to look, it's branding. It has to look exactly like this. So be aware, as I'm sure you are. All right. So at the time check, which I believe is 31 minutes, let us talk a little bit about the subject. And for those of you who are late, if you want to make your own foam, put it in a jar, shake it up, put it in a bigger jar because it's going to expand when you put it in the microwave for 30 seconds. Right. So, Beth, I'm not going to repeat that unless you tell me to, because that's that's a personal thing. But I will gladly do that if you want to share that. You want me to share it with the world on the replay. Because I totally agree. Is it within your ability not to do that? That's my question. What would you have to let go of? And maybe it's relevant to our topic for today, which is our fences. Okay, so I'm going to use that as the lead-in, as they call the segue, the lead-in to our topic. Beth said, my only downside is if others slack off, I don't usually say anything. I will just do my job and theirs. But I'm going to try not to do that anymore. That makes you... Are you going in as a management person or just one of the team? That's important to know. Yeah, it's a great reality, that one. And a lot of people will relate to that. How many of you relate to, I do my job and everybody else's as well? Okay, so you're just a team member. No, not just. You are a special team member. Now, I also want to warn you that the fences, if you like, that you will put up when you go in is either going to include a lot of people if you have lots of gates in your fences, and I'm going to be talking about that, or else it's going to shut a lot of people out that you are the new, know-it-all, do everything right type person. So it's a real balancing act when you are new to a team. So perhaps the viewers here can give you a few tips on what they did to make themselves new, but not, but part of the team. It's a very important thing. What do you like about new people who come into the team? Number one, I can remember, I really want them not to show off. What I really want them to do is just get on with the job. Right? Don't show me how smart you are. Don't show me, that you're better than everybody else. Just do what we have to do. And by the way, if you have time, help others, but do your own job first, right? Don't go busy doing other people's job until your job is totally done. By the way, sometimes in helping others, you end up making enemies, not friends. So just be aware. And if anybody comes up, if anybody comes up with any great ideas, well, add them. All right, I wanted to talk a little bit about fences, because something happened this week for one of our viewers, and I wanted you all to feel this situation. This particular viewer is not a well person. She's suffering with medical issues. And suddenly, out of the blue, a family member said, Okay, on Saturday, I'm bringing da 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 and da 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 da, and we're all coming to visit. And this was like 3 days warning or something, less than a week anyway. How many of you would react to that? There had been no prior discussion. This is now a sudden surprise visit about to happen. All right. So what I wanted to know is how would you react to that? That you hadn't been consulted, that this person just thought you would love this brilliant idea that they had. And somebody's saying, I'd be like, what? Oh my gosh, rush. What? Yeah. Why would you let their stuff make you go in under stress? Yeah, Beth's saying she would freak out. So what I wanted to make sure is that if you're normal, um, and unless you keep, what I call a really neat and tidy home all the time, you probably have a little bit of an issue with that. So I wanted to find out how many of you would have an issue with that because it means you'd have to tidy up. And let's get down to the real stuff now. Uh, because I want to make sure that we understand why we have the issues we do. How many of you know that that would be an issue for you because you'd have to tidy up first? Right. So, but Jojo, you're saying not a problem for you. Yeah, Jody said she'd have a big issue because not only would that be a necessity, but also you've got medical issues as well, right, Jody? So that would be okay. How do I do this? And it would take me more than 3 days to get this completed, to get it tidy, or to get it suitable for taking visitors. Wow, Beth, let me know if I can repeat that. I know I want to tell you I know people who relate to what you just said there, but I don't want to do it without permission. Yeah, somebody's saying here, it's like Tornado Alley in their house. Yeah, so one of the things that I can tell you right now is if somebody came to visit right now, I probably wouldn't mind too much because I've removed so much stuff out of my living room and dining room that it's beginning to echo. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so here's a very interesting point that Jody's bringing up, which is she's saying it wouldn't be possible in that amount of time with my medical condition. All right. All right. Somebody's saying, I have health issues too. My brother showed up yesterday out of the blue. I felt anxious, like I needed 5 minutes to run around the house before I let him in. I really relate to that. Yeah. It's nice that somebody's saying here, it's nice of that person to call prior to coming, but what you need is the right amount of lead time. Now, okay, now I've got to ask you another question, and just bear with me here, people. I don't want this to sound as negative as it probably going to, all right? But what if you knew that you weren't going to be here, that the Grim Reaper would come and get you this week? Would you say yes? Regardless of the stress, would you just say, okay, because it could be the last time? Yeah, somebody's saying here, wouldn't it have been nicer to have asked when is a nice day to visit? Yeah, I quite agree, Joanne. That's called manners in my book. Yeah, exactly. So you see, but by the way, because you're very smart people, you join the broadcast. Let me ask you something. Do you definitely know you're going to be here this time next week? And, that's what I need you to think about. So before we put up a fence, do you really? How do you know that? I don't think any of us know that we will definitely be here this time next week. I'm sorry. I really don't believe we know that, unless, of course, you got a higher connection with a higher power than I do. So, but the question was asked of me. The question was asked of me. What should I do about this person suddenly inviting themselves? By the way, they were family, to make sure we've got that in, but they weren't family that you necessarily got on well with. You know that group? Yeah. So, um, Nada, let me know if I can repeat that, because I'm certain there are people that understand that. Yeah, and that's ego, right, Nada? If we actually, were good at that all of the time, it wouldn't be an issue. It's because we're not, and I have the same thing. I can remember when I first met Benji, he used to just pop in. He'd be standing at the door, and one day I said, "I'd love to invite you in, but I actually would be embarrassed to invite you in, so I'm not going to." Okay, so what Nada said here is, I put up walls and I don't let new friends, lovers in. So I relate to the fences. Yeah. So you can imagine. Yeah. So what I did was, I said to Benji, who I adore, I said, Honey, I just want to make sure that you understand this. I love that you visit, but anytime you visit me without warning me that you're going to be doing that, and I'd like at least 2 days warning, I'm not going to be letting you in. Is that okay? Can I put down that fence? So then I said, were you coming to take me for a meal? And he said, well, actually, yes. I said, fine, I'll go and get my purse. Give me 5 minutes to put some makeup on, and I'll be with you. By the way, he now makes sure that he lets me know. So I think you've got to look at it and make sure, for those of you who know that you are uncomfortable with people arriving without warning. I think it's impolite, but that's my training, right? I was brought up to have the manners not to visit people without warning. How many of you were given that training? Because I think that's what you've got to look at. It's about what is good manners for some of you. I can remember somebody was driving down the highway and phoned me and said, hey, I'm just driving down the highway. I thought I'd pop in and visit. I said, keep driving. What? I said, keep driving. I've got stuff going on here that I cannot stop easily. Yeah. So if you've been brought up with manners that say you never visit somebody without letting them know ahead of time, then do you understand that you will always be triggered? All right? You'll always be triggered when this comes up, and it's okay to put down your fence. So, but what it also means, and this is the subject. Yeah, Jody's saying that she was too. Oh, this is a good one. See, and in Jody's life, she was taught not only do you give warning, but when visitors are coming over, you have several home-baked items and beverages to offer. How many of you know that, I wouldn't have cookies or cake or whatever it is? Ah, so Jojo comes up with a great answer, which is, hey, I'd love to see you. I'm just in the middle of something. I know you're on the highway. Why don't you head on over to, whatever coffee shop that you want to say, and go order yourself a coffee. It's going to take me about 15 minutes to clean up and get there. So I'll gladly meet you, but not here. right? So that you haven't got the stress with the house. Great stuff, Joanne. I love it. That's a really nice answer for a lot of people. However, what if, and this is again, what if this person is medically not capable of doing that? Yes. Okay. So that's a really good point that that the viewer is making here. But I don't want cookies and cake. I just want to see them. So that's looking at for you. So I always say to people, when you want to think about this, make sure you see it from both sides of the story. How would you feel if you're the person heading down the highway and going, "Hey, I'm within 16 blocks of Sal. Let me go and visit." I need to pop in and say hi. And and you're on the phone, and that person says, "No, you didn't give me adequate warning." What happens to you? Let's see it from the other side. Because there's part of me that goes, we need to see both sides of a fence. How many of you saw the graphic I put up with this subject? Did any of you see the graphic? There was a reason why I picked that graphic. Well, I'm glad that you find it useful because I think it's one of those things, I think some of the best conversations we have are when a viewer very kindly lets me use a topic that they contacted me about, all right? Because it's real life. It's not, yes, the kid with the fence thumbnail, exactly. Now, did you notice that the good news about fences is you can keep people away, but also how many of you've noticed if you put up fences all the way around your life, you end up alone? And I thought that graphic showed that kid um, alone because the fences were all there. I could see that side of it too. Do any of you relate? So we need to make sure that the gates, are still open. Yeah, and that see, and that's why I wanted to talk about it because I know that I've intentionally done that to a lot of people. Yes, and the reason is because you're so perfect. Right? I'm pretty sure anybody that visits your place is going, "Yikes! I don't feel at home here. This is like something out of a magazine." Yeah, so I want you to have a look at that. So I think it's really important that you see that is a self-inflicted wound. When we stop people coming to visit us, we also stop people feeling welcome. So, but is it okay to put down the fence? Absolutely, it's okay. I know some people who do not let any strangers into their house. Now you're going to go, how do they get to be anything but strangers? Well, you have to be able to be a friend without coming to my house is their thing before I let you into my house. All right. You need to be able to meet me regularly and do this, that, and the other. Ah, what can you do to fix it? Well, let's hear what people's suggestions are. Let's say that you know that you've put up some pretty, you didn't put up fences, you put up brick walls. Some of you relate to that, right? This was like, let me put the brick walls up. So, how do you start knocking down the brick walls? I always say, whenever you find something like that in your life, it's a really good idea to knock the whole thing down and then start looking at the bricks and going, do I really want this many bricks? It's a bit like downsizing. It's like, do I really need this in my life? Yeah, and some people have put up very nice see-through walls, like picket fences that aren't too high, and some people have put big walls up with barbed wire on top. Now, you know what you've done. So all I'm saying is that you may want to start thinking about maybe knocking some holes in the walls now. If you're feeling lonely, the chances are that you have stopped either letting people into your house, or you have stopped putting enough. Yeah, make it a picket fence rather than a brick wall with razor wire on top. Now, I want to go back to this woman that I was talking about who posted on this website that she had turned her dining room into a craft room. How many of you would be horrified when you know how untidy a craft room is? I'm still shaking milk for some reason. Maybe I should just drink it. How many of you sort of went, because it's really an important thing to have a look at. What is what is this space that you are not using? Yes, for those of you who have OCD, you understand the idea that you would have a messy art room in your living space would be horrific. So you need to be able to keep it fairly tidy, which sort of goes against what I want. So I'm going to look at, is this possible that I can close a door? Because I would prefer that. All right, so let me know if I can talk about that publicly, Beth. Yes, Jody. It's funny because when I read that, I thought about it and thought, wow, that is amazing. Just hold on to that, Jody, and remind me to go back to the castle thing, because I just want to mention something that Beth just said. She said, I have a good example of fences. My daughter said her friend asked her if I was throwing a baby shower. Her daughter is pregnant. And my daughter said no, because my mum is antisocial. Is it true, Beth? So you see, my thing is this, that, if it's true, just laugh and go, yep, I am. Hi, Lolo. Lolo. You've been on my mind all week. How did the cyclone, not cyclone, what do you call it? Tropical storm hit you guys? I was checking it on the map. I think it went a little bit east of you, right? But I don't know why. When I heard that thing was coming down, I'm going, "Where's Lolo here?" I know what to look for now, and I'm going, "No, it's on the other side of her." But it's so funny because I've been watching it. No, it didn't. Okay, that's what I thought. I wanted to make sure I got my bearings right. Good to see you, honey. Big hugs. All right, so how is everyone doing? I think we're doing fine. We're talking about fences that we put up against people rather than. Okay, so some people put up, brick walls, Lolo, with razor wire, and some people just put up little picket fences. So I'm just trying to make sure that people understand that, a brick wall means you end up without any friends. Yeah. So you see, the truth is, Beth, if it's true, then you need to own it and go, "Yep, that's right. I hate having people in my house," and that's okay if you can own it. But why would you be a neat freak, OCD neat freak, and not have people in your house? It's like, you could give lessons on how to do it. So, but how much of your time, Beth, how much of your time do you spend keeping this perfectly tidy house for no reason? And when I say for no reason, you can say, okay, I do it for my husband, but does he care? And, is he also OCD, or does he just appreciate the fact that you keep a house that clean and tidy? What I began to realize was that I need to be looking for a place that suits me, Sal, not my visitors who visit, occasionally. In other words, do I really need 2 bedrooms, other than the fact I want an art studio? Could I get away with 1 bedroom? So, that's a thing. because then it's a case of you are welcome to my house, but you know that in my spare time, I'm an artist. So just understand that. By the way, did you notice that the constable prints have gone from behind me? They're packed. We're getting we're getting high boxes now. um, so this whole thing about your fences is it's okay to put them down. By the way, I want to make sure that Jody, what did I need to go back to? Hang on a second. I just want to make sure I got this right. Yes, one bedroom with a convertible sofa bed. I quite agree. You know, that's what I'm probably going to need. Yeah. So let me ask you guys, for those of you, if you had to get rid of one room where you live, let's say you're presently in a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom place, doesn't matter whether you own it or not. My question is, if you had to get rid of one room in your life, which is the least used room in your life? And this is actually a trick that I'm learning with downsizing. I find it really interesting that the rooms that I have been able to downsize pretty fast are the rooms I don't use a lot. Does that make sense to anybody? And I say pretty darn fast, it still takes me a long time. You have a game room. Oh, that's the one downstairs, Lola. The red walls. Okay, so think about this. So you know that if you had to get rid of one room, you know which one it would be. Yeah, you are a game. And so what I realized was I could probably, how many of you could probably live in a fifth wheel if you had to? And I'm thinking, if I bought a fifth wheel, a big one, I don't mean a little thing. I mean, you know, state of the art type fifth wheel. I would not be tied to any one address necessarily, but that brings its own problems. Does that make sense? So now you've got, where am I going to call home? Where are you going to have your mail sent to? But part of me goes, wow, it certainly is a movable thing. And today they make them so big. Yeah. And how many of you are going, yeah, come visit? And I kept thinking, Lola, if I hauled that thing all the way down to Lola's, would there be a hurricane that week? It would be my luck, right? But there was so what are you converting your dining room space into? Oh, Lolo, and they don't go insane, stir crazy? And you'd still have to pay pad rent. All right, now this is the other thing. You'd still have to pay pad rent. There's no doubt about that. Plus, I'd still have to get rid of probably another 3/4 of my life. Do you know? I mean, however much I've downsized, for me to live in a fifth wheel, I would need to downsize probably 75% again, or put it into storage. So there's part of me going, maybe I can have a dirty great fifth wheel, and at the end of that, I could, tag on a storeroom. They love it and they travel a lot, right? And something, I used to love traveling because I had Bean with me, and nobody would mess with a woman who had a German Shepherd. Do you understand? It was like, I made sure he didn't look too friendly. People would say, "Oh, can I pet him?" And I'd say, "Hang on a second, let me just tell him it's okay." In other words, he needs to hear that from me, so that he doesn't eat you. I wanted people to be aware that that wasn't a good idea. Yes, Nada, I quite agree. I don't recommend storage units. People end up not using anything in them. They put it in there and then don't use it, right? So but the point is, if you needed to do that for a year to find out that you really didn't want it badly enough to go to the storage unit, you know, maybe that's a good investment in 2 grand. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is that maybe, you know, maybe they, you know, that's the way how they find out. Yeah, I'm all right. So, Chip, can I talk about that publicly? Ah, that is so nice to hear. Please tell me I can talk about that publicly. Okay, so what Chip said was she's planning an area where I sit and plan, make lists, use my laptop. Honestly, your broadcast on procrastination motivated me to convert that area to my productive craft space. Now then, I have a dirty, great glass top table. How many of you have seen my table? Okay. Let me just show you that. Hang on. I don't know how I can do that easily, but I'm sure I can. Last time I tried to do something like this, I disconnected everybody. So I have this beautiful glass top table. You see how clean everything is. And obviously, hi. Oh, all right. Which one from Germany? Is it Andrea? Um, Anyway, so what I'm saying is, if I moved into a fifth wheel, I would lose. Andrea, you're not going to believe this. Hold on one second. So, Andrea, first of all, make sure you say hello to Michael and Victoria. I think Victoria, right? But have you, Andrea, have you heard me thinking about you this week? Have you been thinking about me this week? Because guess what? It's got an address on it. But guess what? It's done. Vivian. I knew it was a V. All right. Wait, I've got to put this so I trip over it because it's going to the mail after I finish the broadcast. Ah, that's so cute. So, Andrea, we're talking about if you could get rid of one room in your house, which would be your first choice? I think that's what we need to work on in terms of creating. It's a funny thing to talk about when we're talking about fences, but what I'm trying to do is to get you to see that we've put fences up around people. Yeah, I don't want you in my life because I don't want you to see the mess I've made. Whereas, what if you said, I've had this room and I've kept it neat and tidy for visitors for the last, X years. I'm going to stop wasting that space. I'm going to start using it for things I want to do. So, to me, that may mean that you also need to let go a bit of your ego. Because Because if you don't let anybody into your house now because you've turned the dining room into a craft room, then you don't let people in because it's untidy. Do you understand what you've just done to your life? You've put up a fence and you're going to end up really lonely. Yes, Lolo is talking. By the way, for those of you who don't know Lolo, she joins us from Louisiana. So now what you need to do is, Lolo, did you find that once the grandchildren arrived, the house suddenly wasn't as important, that it didn't need to be that tidy anymore? It needed to be, oh, by the way, how's our Jax? She's got this huge dog called Jax. So I think what you need to do is to realize that when you have certain things in your life that are important, it doesn't look like the show home anymore. You're going to trip over toys everywhere if you've got a grandson called Marley, right? Why? Because he's important to this house. I found that when I had my dogs, I would say, by the way, if you find dog hair everywhere, that's because I have a dog. And he sheds hair faster than I can vacuum it up once a day. And so therefore, if you have an issue with that, we need to make a plan. Let's go outside. Yes, Jojo, go right ahead. And by the way, also let me know, just put okay to tell if I can talk about it publicly. All right, so that's an interesting thing. One of the viewers says, my cleaning obsession disappears when my grandson is here. Toys everywhere. I don't care at all. I just play with him. So the question that I have is, are some of us, have we put up so many fences about our beautiful home that it doesn't actually serve us anymore? And I guess, it was like, I noticed something when I went house hunting. I spent that one afternoon looking at places. I was amazed that you can go and see different places, and some of them are really inviting and some of them are not. And I was amazed how many of them had really pretty front yards, looked immaculate, they're immaculately kept and everything else, but it didn't look friendly. Okay, so yeah, somebody's saying here, I've been hurt a lot. I have a lot of fences around my heart. Totally understand that. I've been hurt more than you ever want to know about. Okay, so somebody's saying, I feel like inviting people to my home and my craft living space. It gives them further glimpse into my life. In my opinion, it gives my guest and myself more to chit-chat about. That's a very good point. Lolo, I know that. Lola says, my home is open for everybody. I don't hide any room from anybody. If people don't like the way I'm living in this room, and if they don't, it's like, it's not 100% clean, they don't have to come. Because it's not lived in, right? You want to live in your house. This house should be for your enjoyment, not somebody else's. Yeah, how many of you... Yes. Oh, what a great quote, right? My home is my castle and not my showroom. Wow. That is, Lolo, what an incredibly great comment. Your home is your castle. It should make you happy. It should not be kept pristine in case somebody comes to visit. It should be lived in the way you'd like to live in it. At the moment, getting into my kitchen is a real challenge. Where's my kitchen? You can't even get that far. Oops. But, because as you can probably imagine, things have now gravitated out of these rooms I'm now into the kitchen and hallway. I have a lot of stuff. And they're going to stay there until Dougie brings a friend and we can move all these downstairs. So how many of you can see that you maybe have put up some walls that are a little bit too strong? And the question was, how do you fix it? So I find it really quite interesting when this person I was telling you about um, wrote to me. I said, well, you don't have to say yes. Just because they want to give you a surprise visit doesn't mean that you have to agree to it. Do you all understand that? Just because they want to give you a surprise visit doesn't mean you have to say yes. However, think about how you would feel if you wanted to jump a surprise visit on somebody and they said no. So, there are two sides to the story. But if you're going to say no, you put up the fence and then feel guilty about it, do you understand that's not worth putting up the fence? You might as well just say yes. If you're going to spend the next 6 months going away, maybe I should have said yes, da, 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 da. That's not it. I said no, and I had a good reason for saying no. Now then, how do I open the gate? All right. Because I realized that probably felt like a brick wall, but I want to make sure they know that wasn't a brick wall. That was just little fence. Hello, not this week. So yeah, I think Joe does a nice description as well. Some fences need to have some weight to them because otherwise they people just walk all over them, right? So but have gates or have windows in your brick wall. You know, think about maybe tripping out some window space so you can see out. Lolo, that is amazing. And are you downsizing or upsizing or same sort of size? I think, it's really scary when I did the math and realized that, just how much money it takes to retire today is and that I don't have it. Okay, so you're upsizing because of the family. Your family got bigger. And yet you've got a room that you would get rid of gladly. So, isn't that interesting? So I say to a lot of people I know actually do have storage space, all right? And I say to them, why don't you just use one of your rooms as your storage locker? If you really want to hang on to stuff, keep a room as a storage locker. Nobody goes in it except you. But I mean, most bedrooms are 10 by 10. What do you pay at a storage place for a 10 by 10 locker? You see, that's what you got to look at. The price of let's say a one bedroom as opposed to two bedroom. So to me, I said to my realtor, the boxes are all going down to my garage. Ah, so this is another baby? Yes. Very interesting point made by a viewer. People want to protect the image of themselves, the image of their home. I want you to think that I'm the perfect neat freak. I'm the perfect housewife, and that's why I need some time. However, some people are sick, and they've got so much medication. Goodness knows what else that is part of their reality now. That they live in their living room, for example. Maybe their hospital bed is there or whatever. Because they can no longer do the normal things, and so. Oh, Andrea, that is wonderful. Of course, yes, you got that. That's right. Sorry, I kept calling you Lolo instead. So, it's like there are some really good reasons why we don't want people coming to visit us. And that is a good reason to put your fence down. However, make sure you open the gates and go, it's not that I don't want you here. I just need to close the gate this week because I don't have enough warning to just get things organized to do with visitors. And yet, remember what was said here. People don't come to visit you because they want to see how tidy they are. They want to see you. So if you don't want them in the house, then maybe you let them pick you up and go for a meal. Right? You have every right not to let them into the house, but try and now find a win-win on this one. And to do that, you may need to swallow your ego and tell the truth. I really don't want to let you into the house because it now looks like emergency ward 10, and it probably would scare a lot of people. And I would rather not expose you to that. Therefore, but I would love to see you all, and let's try and arrange it so that we can do this. Now, do you think it's possible that if you have put a fence up down, to stop somebody from doing a surprise visit, that the time that you want to arrange it, they're going to say no? How many of you can feel that one coming? Humans are very interesting, aren't they? Yeah. I know I am. And so much of what I do really has very little intelligent meaning. But I own it now. I think the difference in my life is I can see it now. I protected it so heavily, it's not even funny, but now I own it. It's like, yeah, I don't blame you for not wanting to come to visit me. So what I would do is put the ball back in their court and say, hey, if you're a normal human being, I probably really hurt you with this, and it was not my intent. However, here's the thing. Let's start working on a date that works for all of us. And I'm going to leave it up to you to get back to me on that. And if you don't, I'd also understand. In other words, be big enough to know that if they're going to punish you, it's okay. You understand that. And then just be a broken record, in 3 months' time. It's like this one friend of mine. I just had lunch with him a couple of weeks ago. And the funny thing was that, we keep meaning to get together, but we don't. Does it make sense to anybody? And it's sort of like, okay, well, we better hurry up because it's getting close to Christmas. Because have you noticed the time between June and Christmas just seems to gone. It's not there anymore. All right, so let me have a look here and let me read this. I'm going to read this and not give it a name, just so that you guys can hear this because it's really interesting. On the one hand, by building a wall, I try to hide myself and live in its shadow. And at the limit, make myself invisible. A wall is above all the admission of a fundamental vulnerability. Wow. Hi, Unique. Welcome. We're talking about the walls or fences we put up to block people. Welcome. Big hug. How do you know about us? And let us know where you're from. I'll let everybody else tell you where you're from. I'm from, the flag is a bit hidden. I'm from Southern British Columbia. Do you know me through any other reason, or did you just happen to pop in? We love to know those things. Yeah, so this is the whole thing. I think this was the most incredible thing. Let me read it again. On one hand, by building a wall, I tried to hide myself. Wow. I want to tell you, I so relate to that. To live in its shadow and to the limit, make myself invisible to the outside, right? A wall is above all the admission of a fundamental vulnerability. Isn't that so true? Yeah. Whatever our Yes, it's something? Did you ever watch the movie 28 Days? For those of you who know about addiction of any form, I used to be addicted to cigarettes, and what if you know anything about addiction, see that movie. I think Sandra Bullock was in it, because it shows you that, if you have an addictive personality of any sort, whether it's OCD or cigarettes or booze or whatever your stuff is, neat freak, if you are a workaholic, whatever it is, um, here is the thing. If you have any of those addictive personalities, the reality is that we need to work on ourselves, before we try falling in love with anybody. And one of the benchmarks of this movie is the fact that you start with a plant. Can you keep, do you have, are you so into yourself, or can you actually keep a plant alive? Right? Because to keep a plant alive, you have to remember it needs to be nurtured. And then it says, after so long, if your plant's still alive, you can get a bird or a fish. A fish, I think, is the next one. If you can keep the fish alive, that means you're out of yourself. So many of us are just into ourselves so much. Does that make sense? We spend our whole time just working on ourselves. We don't have enough energy to give out to anybody else. And quite honestly, what we're protecting, and I love that, that we're so busy protecting ourselves from the outside world that they shouldn't see who we really are, that we don't have time. It's a great movie. Yeah. I think it's a great movie because if you understand, it's a bit like that. I always talk about Wag the Dog as a movie. I think if you are into politics at all, you have to see that movie, Wag the Dog. Very old now, it's 30 years old. But boy, was that a smart movie about politics. And I keep watching what's going on in the world right now and going, is this Wag the Dog stuff or is it true? And you will actually hear commentators say every now and then, this could be a Wag the Dog thing. And you go, what on earth are they talking about? It's the name of a movie about politics that is brilliant. And because it really shows you what goes on. And I must admit, when I've watched it many, many times, and I keep saying, I hope this isn't true. And I know that it is. I really do know that it is. You can really, for those of you who are old enough, you can really understand why the Iran-Contra deal went down and those sort of things. So it's really, really important. Anyway, the reality is that we all live our lives by our choosing, right? If we choose to put up dirty, great brick walls with razor wire from the world, then don't be surprised if you're lonely. That's my point. If you put up, you go, oh, I put up a little picket fence. It's very pretty. But if it's low enough that anybody can walk over it, do you understand people are going to walk all over you too? People need to know how far they can go. Now, if your house, it's interesting, is Lolo still with us? Let me just check that. Because I wanted to make a comment about something Lolo said. Oh, Rhett, she's not here. Because something that she said about visitors, in her life, her house is always open to anybody. So that tells you a lot about how authentic she is, right? She's not tied into it's got to look good. I think part of the reason I liked camping. Yes, that is the one, Unique. That is the movie, 28 Days. Yep. It is actually well worth seeing if you've got any addiction issues. So somebody's saying here, I didn't choose the big walls. It's not my fault I was mistreated mentally and mentally abused as a kid. I quite agree. Yes. And as long as you can see, it was it wasn't your choice at the time. I'd like to suggest that if you've got abuse in your background of any sort, mental or physical, that was a survival technique that you put up. All right? Okay. So, all right, Andrea. So your house is an open. Yeah, anybody can come in anytime. I'm happy to see you, and that's a mentality. So what I want to make sure we understand is if you've put up, do you all get the idea though? If you put up dirty, great brick walls with razor, you know, stuff on the top of it, you are going to end up a lonely person. You are a survivor. Okay, so um, for that person that's talking about survival, have you ever seen me talk about what happens? Okay, I need to do it on the white piece of paper. Okay. For that person talking about survivor, when did you go into survivor? What age? I'm about to tell you something that I found out. And I didn't read it somewhere else, but I know it to be true. Yeah. All right. So, any of you who relate to this, I want you to just bear with me here. I haven't got my whiteboard here, but let's say, are those numbers showing the right way for you guys? That's what I need to know. Or are they the wrong way around because of the camera? This should read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so here is what I found out. A normal child grows up and is nurtured all the way through to whatever age, all right? You get nurturing all the way. Somebody who's been abused, and it happened to me at 5, just so that you know, and again later on, but let's just talk about this. This happens that okay, I got the sort of normal, well, a bit weird, dysfunctional, but never mind, nurturing until here. And here I went into survival. I didn't have this normal nurturing anymore, this normal learning process. I had to grow up really fast. And the only way I could survive was to put up the brick wall. Does this relate to anybody? Actually, I didn't. I put up quite a low little picket fence now that I think about it because it got trampled on a number of times, which means it wasn't high enough. People just kept coming back. So the what I call that is, you didn't grow up normally. You're a survivor. And, survivors are very special people, in my view, because they put up with the most horrific reality and still survived. When I say horrific, emotionally damaging realities and still survived. And I so agree with working on yourself. If you've had that in your life, working on yourself is the most important job in your life. All right. It's not being married to make all your friends feel that you fit in. It's not having children so you look like you're a decent mother or whatever. It's about learning to be happy and to know that this wasn't your fault necessarily. All right. When I say necessarily, it depends when the abuse happened. But I can look at it now and I can go, boy, I want to tell you something. The work I've done on myself may have caused me to be pretty lonely in some ways, on other people's scale. But the good news is that I done the work. I've done a lot of work, and that's why I started this, because I had a feeling there were other people who needed to know some of this stuff. All right, so somebody here says, I love friends and family visiting anytime, unlike my husband, who feels people have to call before coming. Now, do you understand, viewer, that that is because in his upbringing, they had to have that? Right? He was taught that you don't just visit people, you have to call first and arrange it. Well, the thing is that I hope it does help some of you. And that's, I take a vulnerability risk every week. All right, because every week I talk about stuff like this in different ways because it's life. And I realize that, sometimes it can be used against me. And that's, if it is, so be it. I don't know if it makes sense to you guys, but I would rather help one person because of my knowledge today and my experience. I would rather take that vulnerable risk. Um, and if somebody uses it against me, and believe you me, they have, so be it. It's beyond my reality to stop it, and I don't want to stop it. Well, and that's why if you read what I say about Dear Mama Sal, helping you cope with love, life, and other problems, right? Because if you think about it, we've all got these problems going on every day in some way. Some of you go out and never smile at anybody when you leave the house, and guess what? Nobody smiles at you. Um, so it's a pretty lonely way. I find shopping for me now is a major meet and greet experience. By the way, it actually happens. I'm amazed how many times I'll be out without, a bit like today, not too much in the way of makeup, and I'll be out and, thinking that I am alone, and suddenly somebody will go, "You're Dear Mama Sal," and I'll go, "What?" Of all days to recognize me, this is not the day. And I'll go, "Actually, yes, I am." I was incognito, but apparently you saw past that. And you know what gives me away? My voice. I probably could get away with the look, but it's my voice that gives me away. And I have a very unusual voice. So if you sort of look at me and go, "Gosh, that looks just like Dear Mama Sal," but then I open my mouth, I'm gone. All right. So somebody here is saying, I've grown up like, if you want to visit somebody, just go to the person and ring the bell. I don't like it when my has friends. My daughter has to call friends to know if they're having time for her to come over. All right. Yeah. You see, that's interesting because that's a different upbringing. You see, and you can't blame the children or the families for the upbringing, but we I guess we need to decide, do we want to be that sort of person? So do we want to open the door and say, "Hey guys, wasn't expecting visitors. There's dust everywhere. The place is a pigsty, but if you're still happy, come on in." Now, when you can do that, and by the way, I'm getting better with that now. It doesn't have to be a show home anymore. Um, and as somebody once said to me, and I think it was Benji who said that to me, he said, "Sal, don't you know that there isn't a creative person I know that has a tidy home?" Part of being a creative personality, and I'm not just creative. How many of you know I've got different things going on in different rooms? I've got a craft room, an art room, and so I have to be able to go to the craft room to make this, right? Because I don't want it near my art. It would all get dirty. So, you look at it and you say, "That's who I am." So when I downsize now, I realize I have got to be okay with that. This is about me. I know you think it's about you. But this is about me. Do you understand that? I realize that I've put up these fences, I've created this lifestyle, and it's like this time it needs to be for me. It's not about I need a big dining room so I can entertain 10 people. I need a big dining room because this glass table you can do all sorts of projects on. Right? If I only had one table, this probably would be a good one because I could actually throw paint on it because paint comes off it quite easily. It's glass. If I could, if I had to have a living room, dining room, I would keep this table, not get a smaller one, because of all the things you can do on a glass table. Does that make sense? and I could get rid of the craft room. I just need to organize the walls. Now, here's another thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about. Are you all at home at the moment? Because again, I want you to think about, if you look around your room that you're in, how much stuff is there from 5 foot up? No, let's make it 6 foot up. All right? Because one of the things I remember seeing that really affected my life was something that I saw in IKEA once. IKEA's catalog showed you how you could turn a 10 by 10 room and live in it for everything. And what you had to do was just use the space from, the level of my paintings here up better. In other words, chairs were foldable and you could hang them on the wall. You had cubies that were stored higher and a ladder to be able to get to any of them. So, it's like if you could get rid of one room, know which room you'd get rid of, and turn it into a storeroom if necessary. If you want to use the rooms you've got better, then utilize more of the wall space. All right, so that you can hide things away, put things away. The other thing is, if I want to be an artist, I have to be hi, Jonas, good to see you. If I am going to continue to be an artist, I need to let go of my ego about having my house clean and tidy. End of story. Because you cannot be an artist. Now, that's the thing that's worrying me a bit. If I got a fifth wheel, a big one with a sort of spare room, then could I make that work? Could I live in a small space on a permanent basis and then just have this one room where I could make a perfect mess? And I'm thinking I probably could. I'd probably do my crafts not in that room. I'd keep that room for throwing paint around, if you know what I mean. Oh, I want to tell you something unique. I so relate to that. How many of you know decluttering is something that you definitely need to do in your life? I want to tell you something, that this has been a really interesting experience for me, and it's taking a lot longer than I want it to. And it's possible I may need to not only do it one more time, maybe two. And so what I thought would be a couple of months' work isn't. The other thing I've learned, by the way, if you're thinking about doing it, be kind to yourself. Don't try and do it in a rush. Do it slowly. Literally take one shelf and go halve whatever's on that shelf. Take one drawer, halve what is in that one drawer. Take one cupboard in your kitchen and go, I need to downsize this by half, and organize it better. In other words, if you think about that as well. Do any of you collect wooden spoons and spatulas at a rate that's really quite embarrassing? And whisks. I'm very good on whisks. I think I have about 6 different whisks. Do any of you relate to this? So, to me, it's like, have a look at those this week and go, okay, if I were only allowed half of these, which half would I keep? And I found that's a really good way to do it. It's just like, I'm only allowed to keep half of these. Which half do I want to keep? I'm at the stage now where everything that was in my living room and dining room, except I still have some plates and things here and bowls, because I think we'll probably end up laying the table, to show it. But my life is in those boxes. And that's just Stuff from my living room, dining room, really. That's scary. Glass vases, decanters, glass beakers, glass ornaments, bowls and ornaments, china, platters. Now, how many of you know I might not be able to keep half of that if I move to a fifth wheel? So I'm still thinking that maybe getting the mobile home with its own land is the way I'm going to have to go. So I've got the space to enjoy. It might not be in the area I want to live in. Location, 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 but maybe I can get what I need for me. And maybe it won't impress my friends that I live in that area, but maybe what I need is that space so that I can be me. How many of you understand what I'm getting at? And by the way, did you guys hear the story about Sunshine Cottage? That was the one that I saw that I really liked, that suddenly jumped 50,000. No, more than 60,000 it jumped. And they've now dropped it back 20, I think. No, at least 10, 15. So it's just like, really, the market out there is insane. Do I really need all of those? No, I could sell them. And I don't want to go through that. Yes, I agree. What I need to feel is my castle, Jody. That's why I wanted to go back to that comment about the castle. I need to create my own home. And whether you like where it is or not, that's one thing. I don't go out a great deal anymore. So, it's important for me to have somewhere that I feel comfortable in it. If I can get more space for less money by living in a mobile home, I'll do it. And everybody will say, oh, but you still got to pay pad rent. Not if I buy the land. So somebody here is thinking about living in a tiny mobile home or something small. I want to tell you, have a look at a manufactured home, because you can actually, well, if you want to look at something really small, make sure that you have seen all the videos of the people who tried it and stopped it. Because for a lot of people, they had to stop trying to live in a tiny house because it actually was very costly for them in various ways, emotionally, financially, da 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 da. For some people, they loved it. I would have a problem just because I'm older, and I think that climbing up and down the stairs or something might be a problem. But then there's part of me that goes, I've seen some of them. Actually, some of the fifth wheels have actually got like a loft area now. They're making the fifth wheels into tiny homes. And then I've got to find somewhere to stay. I've got to find somewhere to put it. Not everybody allows you to stay there 24/7 all year. Yeah. So I want to make sure that you all know what I was getting about in that graphic that I used for today's video. And the graphic was that if we build these fences and if the fences are high or thick enough, we will end up isolating ourselves away from humanity. So that's okay to do. You can build your castle. But I know that a lot of us get a lot of our social interaction through using our computers. I understand that. But remember that it's not quite the same as real life. Because, you've got to still deal with real life. And so what I am busy looking at and what I hope to bring to you while I go through this incredible journey is look at what happened to me. I downsized a whole lot on Tuesday and then paid the price for the rest of the week. And I want to again ask you guys, do you understand that by actually cleaning up that much of my life, it had a physical effect on me. Right? Because it was like, I'm getting closer and closer. I don't know if this makes sense to any of you. I keep getting closer and closer to having the house ready to put on the market. And there's a big part of me that doesn't want that to happen. And I get that, and I acknowledge that. Now, here's the other thing. You know what else had a major effect on me this week? And I was amazed at how much that hit me. I went into my guest bathroom to go and do something there, cleaning up in there. And I found out that, guess what? I've got a double-headed shower unit in that bathroom, and one of the shower heads is not working. And then it was like, here's another thing that's not working. And I keep, going, okay, I've got problems on the front deck. I've got problems with my shed roof. I've now got problems with the plumbing. I know that the fan in my bedroom doesn't work. And it's like, how many things am I going to have to fix to be able to sell this house? And will I have enough money left when I finish fixing everything? Or do I just sell it with all the problems and take the hit of doing that? Yes, and and I thank you guys for your support on this one. And that's why I hope that it's okay that I bring you these realities, that I show you that in doing this, it has a physical effect on me. And that it's not easy. It's a very difficult thing to do. And so I encourage all of you who know you need to do it. Don't leave it for your children to do, right? Do it. And make your life easier. I find dusting my living room, dining room now is actually quite quick. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, there's nothing here. Swiffer, here I come. Boom, 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 done. Why? Because things are put away. How many boxes is that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 boxes of stuff. And I could probably get rid of half of it again. You'd be amazed how much room my 24 vases take up. So, not easy stuff to do. I hope that this broadcast has been of some help to some of you. And if it has, what are you going to commit to doing for yourself this week? Yes, that's so true. I'm repairing and cleaning out my dad's home that I inherited and now live in. He had a little bit of everything in 3 bedrooms. Yeah, you bet. I totally relate to that. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I think about when I'm gone and it gives me the motivation to declutter. That's what I keep thinking. If I didn't make it through to next week, have I made it easier for somebody to help get rid of this stuff? By the way, Sakura, I think, said that I need to start selling the stuff. I don't want that hassle. That is a decision I made probably 2 months ago. That I know I could get money for some of this stuff, and anything that I think is really worth anything, I'm hanging on to. Why? Because that's the stuff I will donate to my family and friends. But the other stuff, I really don't want to have the yard sale. I've heard so many people say, I thought we were going to do it, but I ended up just giving it away. So I'd rather give it away or throw it away. And that's my decision to myself. And I know that some of you are going, that's very wasteful. Yeah, it is. But I've got to think about my mental health. And my mental health is more important to me right now than some money. Even though I could do with the money, it's like, I don't want to go there. I don't want people picking through my stuff and saying, this is horrible, or this is not worth $5, or, I don't want that. I'm either going to give it away to people I know, or I'm throwing it away. And if I get judged for that, fine. My war. My self-inflicted wound. and I'm happy to live with it. Yes. Oh, Chip, that is so true. Chip saying, I'm going to look for help this weekend. I've learned after months that I can't clean out and organize it all. I have what's called superwoman complex, and I feel like I can do it all. Or you don't have to do it all this year. So what I found is it's much easier to throw away a bag of stuff every week than it is to chuck a whole lot into a dumpster. So that's why I keep saying, do you want to keep it or not? You need to downsize by half. And I've now got to the stage, although my kitchen is now a nightmare, um, but basically my kitchen is done already. It's all the I think all the shelves are done. So it's now the stuff because I'm using it for artwork and stuff to dry. But it's like I've still got a lot of mess in there, but it's actually downsized. The two rooms I've got left are my craft room and my art room. And that tells you everything about my life, right? I'm doing them last. You know why I'm doing them last? Now, I think the next one I'm going to do is my craft room. Oh, yes, Chip, I want to tell you if I gave you one tip to downsizing, that would be it. Don't try and get rid of everything. Literally look at one shelf. And here's the other thing, Chip, that I found. I'll take everything off a shelf and put it on my bed. Why? I sleep in it every night. And then what I find, I don't know if this makes sense to anybody, and I want you to see the visual. Every time I go into my bedroom to use my washroom, as I come back, I grab something. As I'm drying my hands, right? I grab something and then I go and put it somewhere. I put it away or throw it away. Is it a put it away or throw it away? Quite simple. Or if I really haven't made the decision yet, it goes to the other side of the bed because those will be the last things. And I hate seeing my bed that untidy. So every time I just take a couple of things. Or I'll have one box that sits somewhere for a week and, just grab something out of the box every day. I've got one area in my house that's all shredding and I hate it. Boy, can I collect paper. But every month I sit down. I don't do it every day, but every couple of weeks or so, I sit down and shred a whole stack of stuff. And if necessary, I will throw them all in boxes and take it with me. But or I will throw it all in boxes and call the shredding people to come and get it. So yes, that I definitely, if you want to declutter, don't try and do it all in a week. Literally take one shelf. Give yourself the feeling. And I want to tell you something. I did this big thing in the dining room this week, and now all I've got left are the flowers and my plant with the flag in it. I could put the flag into the flowers and then I could get rid of the plant, right? So that would get rid of half of what's left. Does that make sense? And so it's interesting to me that the only things I have left, oh, by the way, I've started putting up some of my art on my walls, right? It's like, okay, if I've got a show house, I might as well show my art. Yeah, you would totally overwhelm yourself. Don't do that. So, first of all, Chip, you're living in the house now, right? Did you take everything out of the one room so you can live in it like a human? Because that would be my recommendation, is to literally, yeah, so literally pack everything up, even if it's just to get it tidy, right? Because being tidy is a good part of this. All right, in doing that, you will get rid of half of it anyway. That's my experience. And then you can do one box a week for the rest of your life if you want to. Right? Get some pretty material to put over it and don't stressed yourself out. Just ask yourself every week, did I sort out one more box? I think you'll be surprised. I think I'm just about to go into 50 boxes because that's what I got. I've just ordered another 25, and I ordered another 25 a bit bigger than these. Another 25 this size, and I've ordered 25 a bit bigger than these because I've noticed that what's hanging on now are things that are bigger that don't fit into that size. How many of you can understand that people want me to do this faster? Well, you could have your house on the market in a week if you wanted to. I'm sure that my agent wants me to do that. But I keep looking at it. How do I do this and not drive myself into a nervous breakdown? And it is my belief, I don't know if any of you relate to this, that once it is ready, I need to take my trailer and get that out of Dodge and not live here. Why? Why do you think that is? Even though it's going to cost me money to go and take my trailer somewhere, but there is a reality to me that says, yes, actually, Sakura, I do believe that. I was absolutely amazed that I was able to say no to Sunshine Cottage because it was something wasn't right about it. Although it was perfect inside, there was just like, I want to own the land. I don't want somebody selling the land from underneath me. Although I realize that even if I buy a unit with my own land, that they could still do it, right? But at least I would share in the profit of that. And there's part of me that goes, or else I buy a fifth wheel, knowing that I can move it in a heartbeat. And I need to keep, I would have to change my Jeep as well, because my Jeep wouldn't haul a fifth wheel. I'd need a truck. So that's a big expense. But, would that be, then I know that I can move it pretty easily if I want to. But then I thought about, this whole thing about some places not allowing units that are more than 10 years old. So you're going, that would only work if I buy a brand new one, or maybe 1 or 2 years old. But I really do believe that in the next 5 years, you're going to see a lot more properties that are built for fifth wheels and mobile homes. Okay, no problem, Andrea. Great to see you. Big hugs. And thank you for being here. And the box is on its way. I'm off to the store to go mail it to you. Yeah, so I think a lot of people, Sakura, will be doing that, but be careful what you buy. All right? Because you have to know that you're going to buy something that's really expensive and still have to pay pad rent. So it's not going to be cheaper. It's going to be more expensive because you will be wasting that money. Does that make sense, Sakura? Do the math on this. You remember that we did it, right? The average pad rent today here in British Columbia is somewhere between 700 and $1,000 a month now. People are really coining it on this. And so when you do the math, and I'm just trying to get back to where my calculator is. Oh, wrong one. Okay, let's do it and just make sure. Let's say that it's 800, just to give us a fair figure. 800 a month times 12 months times, how many years are you thinking of doing that, Sakura? Are you thinking of doing it for the next 10 years? Let's say that you are. That is going to cost you $96,000 in pad rent alone. So, do you understand? That is a lot of money that you will be throwing down into somebody else's pocket. That's why I want to spend the extra money and buy the land as well. Because at least then when I leave, I've got the investment of the land that I can sell. But I can still, if necessary, move it. All right, so there we go. I still haven't decided which I'm going to do, mobile home and own the land, or just go totally mobile and lose the money. And but there's so many other things, Sakura, that I've discovered. Where are you going to have your full-time home? Where are you going to have your mail sent? Are you going to keep moving the home? There are a lot of I've seen a lot of videos of people that are living full-time in a RV, and it's interesting the things that they say. They reckon it costs them about $3,000 a month to be on the road. 3,000. Yeah. And that's why I just, I'm actually have decided, I made that decision with my realtor. I'm going to pack up. Yeah, they didn't realize that either, Sakura. So make sure you're making the right decision here. It's not cheap. You've got, car expenses, you've got gas expenses, all those things. By the way, I do need to tell you that I cannot believe what President Trump did this week in the NAFTA tariffs. I think trying to blackmail Canada and Europe is not the smartest move. And it could turn around and bite a lot of American jobs. And I'm very sorry to hear that. When I heard that he did it, I went, this was not the smartest move. This was not the art of the deal. This was the art of let's give the rest of the world all our business. Because I can assure you that Canada can put the same tariffs on the US on a lot of stuff that is going to cost the US a lot of jobs. And not that we're nasty, but it's like, excuse me, if you're going to do that to us, then I'm afraid we're going to have to do it as well. Yes, Jody. And again, for those of you thinking of downsizing into a tiny house, it happened to friends of mine. Somebody's saying here, they bought an RV thinking that they could live on $500 per month. It's more like 4 times that to start with. Yes, I've heard a lot of people living in very small units and not living full time in a home, in a rental pad. They actually are spending, the average total in a year was $4,000 a month. And they said they couldn't believe it until they did all the math. Renting post office boxes, working out how to forward their mail, and where to forward it to. That's another big problem. If somebody's going to forward your mail, do you know where you're going to be next week? And what if you break down? And where are you going to live? That was another thing they never thought about. What happens when the RV breaks down? And they're paying on the RV for the next 12 years. Yeah. Now, that actually isn't altogether a bad idea. There's part of me that goes, that would actually could end up saving you money. I don't know. I'd have to do the math on that. Because you could then invest the money in a different way. So I definitely would have to look at that. I have actually thought about maybe I should just rent. And just know that I'm throwing the money away, but maybe that's a cheaper way to go. Sometimes that could be true, but my sense is I will buy one more time, probably for the next 10, 15 years, and then I will let it go. Whatever money I haven't made, so be it. But I do know that the next 10 years of my life is pretty crucial. All right. I think that I deserve 10 years of playing in my art studio or in the craft room, making pendants and the little, things to put them on. I think it's worth it, right? Okay, so you're thinking about looking for farmland first. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, 10 is an absolute minimum. I mean, it's interesting. I think that it's possible I could live another 20 because I've given up smoking, or I could be gone next week. So I do believe that what I do needs to make me happy. You know what I mean? I don't need to do it for my friends that I may leave stuff to. I can spend it all if I want to, even if it doesn't make any sense. I've even looked at float homes. I'm going, no garden. Maybe a float home is what I need. Yeah. And then you hear horror stories about that as well. So, yeah. All right, everybody, I'm out of here. Hope this was fun for some of you. And this to me is, I'm hoping that my realities are making some sense. This is not easy to do, to downsize. And it definitely has impact on me, and learning to balance myself and letting myself rest and not get over emotional about stuff and giving myself time. My speed is the right speed for me, and it's not going to please my realtor, but it has to happen this way for me, or else I am going to end up making foolish choices and being sorry about it. Make sense? All right. So everybody have a super time. I'll see some of you this evening. In the meantime, I'm off to go and mail some packages to Germany. And Beth, I didn't bring it with me, but guess what the other thing is that I have to mail off? It's your badge. So big hugs, everybody. Thank you for your time, and hope this was of some value to you. This is Dear Mama Sal. Hopefully we'll find out by this evening. Dear Mama Sal saying bye-bye for now.